You know what? I'm not making an intro. I'm doing this off the top. I'm not scripting this, nothing. Anyways, Battlefield 2042 had a very rough launch, and to say that it was a letdown is an understatement for me personally. There were a lot of issues at launch. When I played the beta for this game, 2 months ago, last month, whenever it was, I loved it. I got super excited for it, and the game felt good. I was having fun. Oh, the beta was so good. Despite the performance issues, the game, you know, didn't run that well. You need a higher end PC for it. You know, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I only get between like 30 and 60 frames, and that's where I sit. But that's fine. I can deal with that. And the beta was good. I had fun. The movement felt good, even though you didn't have as many mechanics as you did in past Battlefield titles, but you can add those in later. The slide felt good. What you could do with it felt good. The grapple felt good. Everything felt good. It was, and the gunplay felt really good in the beta. The gunplay felt great. I loved the gunplay in the beta. It was so much fun. And then they released the full game, and it's like they went backwards from everything that was good about the beta. Everything that was good about the beta, they took it and made it bad. Like, oh my gosh, like even the... Okay, let's talk about performance first. Like I said, I only get... During the beta, I only get about between 30 and 60 frames at all times. But it never drops below that. I don't get these insane stutters or anything like that. But now that the full game's released, every single time something happens on my screen, or like I get in a gunfight, so like the whole point of playing the game, I get frame drops. So my game stutters, so I have no clue where the dude I'm shooting at actually is in relation to me. So I'm just shooting at where he was half a second ago, and obviously he's moved since then. So it's very hard for me to win a gunfight in this game right now, and I'm running all the same settings that I did in the beta. I don't know why these frame drops are in there, but the performance of the game is terrible. The fact that you need a 30 series card right now, and that's like the recommended or minimum specs. I think it's the recommended specs. I'm not sure which one. The fact you need a 30 series card to run this game at anything reasonable is insane. Especially considering, you know, GPU shortage, price gouging, all that stuff, but I'm not getting into that. Next thing I want to talk about is specialists. Okay, so specialists is very controversial in the community. A lot of people really hate specialists. Personally, I don't care about specialists. Specialists are cool. I don't mind them. They're okay. It's definitely fun. Specialists are fun. Like, y'all can't deny that. The grapple's fun. Sundance is fun. All the abilities and stuff, that's really cool and really fun. But it does feel weird to branch off from the 4-class system. But I'm personally fine with specialists. All the stuff they do is really cool. But like, for the example of branching off of medic, right? There's no medic nearby system anymore. So people are just constantly skipping revives because they don't know if there's somebody who can res them anywhere near them. I myself have been looking around on the ground, haven't seen anybody that can res me. So I skipped the animation, and right when I finished skipping to redeploy, then somebody shows up that could have res me, and I had no idea they were anywhere near me. It's just impossible to tell there's a medic near you. They need medics nearby back. That is something that needs to be added back into the game. But specialists overall, I think are okay, but you know. Okay, but maps. Let's talk about the maps in this game. Okay, the maps are twice as big, and there are twice as many players on them, right? So, on paper, when you're designing a game and you're like, you know what? Let's go bigger. Let's make the maps twice as big. Let's make there be twice as many players on the maps at any given time, right? It feels like a good idea on paper. But then, the way it plays out in the game, right? The way it plays out is all 128 players, or all 64 on each team, just spend all their time looking for fights instead of constantly in fights. One of the staples of Battlefield, the reason I loved Battlefield so much was because you could just go to a point and you could get in the most chaotic, crazy fights you've ever seen in a video game, and it would be awesome, and it would be so much fun. You'd be fighting these like 20 versus 12 fights, and you and your 11 people would be holding back these 20 people all rushing you, and it would be awesome and be an epic moment. But now, with the bigger maps and more players, you just spend all your time running from point to point. For one thing, the maps are too big for like soldier traversal. You have to use like Sundance and jump off buildings to get to another point, or you have to call in a car, which the call-in system is good, I'll give them that. But it's very annoying, this traversal, and when you get to a point, is either already capped by the time you got there, already defended by the time you got there, or you're only fighting like 1 or 2 people. You don't get these massive fights that are like 20 versus 12. You get these small fights that are like 4v1, and you just get dunked on. Like, there's nothing you can do. It's because the points are so spread out and there's so many points on the map. The fight that, the major fights will be going down somewhere, but then you'll see a point going and getting contested and you'll want to go there to stop it, and then it's just a small scale fight, and then everybody is doing that. So there's not even really a point where the major fight is, except for occasionally everybody will converge on one point. But the maps don't work well. I'm not gonna get more into that. The maps don't work well. The scale of them is a bit too much for what Battlefield has going on right now. It just doesn't feel good, you know what I'm saying? Okay, next thing I want to get into is just all the terrible, or at least in my opinion, I'm not going to call them terrible as a fact, in my opinion, terrible design decisions and balancing that went into this game. First thing I want to cover, just a random one, right? Tanks are 4 shots with a recoilless M5. One of the 2 things you run, you either run C5 or you run a M-coilless C5 as your gadget if you want to take down tanks, right? You get 3 shots with that recoilless M5. Tanks take 4 shots of those rockets in order to kill them. You can't take down a tank by yourself, even if you hit them with 3 rockets that are specifically meant to take down tanks. Oh, dude. The fact that is possible is really annoying, and that's just not how the game should have been made. Oh my gosh. Okay, but moving on, next thing I want to get into is just Bloom. Oh my gosh, Bloom? Oh, why does Bloom keep getting added into every single video game I ever play ever? It's the most annoying mechanic whenever you're considering gunplay. If you're a dev and you're making a game and it's a first-person shooter and you are thinking about the gunplay in your game, do not put Bloom in it, except maybe at hipfire. Hipfire Bloom, fine. It is okay for guns to be inaccurate at the hip. But the fact that you can be aiming down sights with an assault rifle in this game, and the bullets are not going where your crosshair is, even when you're managing the recoil, is absolutely insane and drives me crazy. You can see countless clips of people having their crosshair perfectly on somebody for like 6 shots in a row, and not a single one hits, because if I'm aiming right at you guys, the camera, the bullets go to the top left, to the top right. It goes everywhere except at you, and it's the most annoying thing ever to have to rely on RNG to hit your shots for you. And all it does, all Bloom is doing is trying to bridge the gap between high skill players and low skill players. It makes low skill players better because you get more chances to hit the enemies with your bad aim, but it makes high skill players worse and just takes away your good aim, because if you have your crosshair perfectly on them but your bullets aren't going perfectly where your crosshair is, then it's just it's gone. And the thing is, this wasn't even in the beta. The beta gunplay felt amazing. The M5 in the beta felt so good because you could hit your shots reliably and while on the move, and it was so good to aim like that. But now you just don't know where your bullets are going. You have to stand still for like at least 2 seconds for your running Bloom spread to fully reset. I think that's the rules, but even then it's not guaranteed. Oh, I need people to stop adding Bloom into gunplay when you're ADSing. If I can control recoil and put my crosshair on a target, gosh dang it, my bullet should go where my crosshair is. That's all I'm asking, is to reward skill. That's all I want, is skill to be rewarded. Okay, I'm done talking about Bloom. Movement. Okay, first of all, the slide in the beta felt so good. You get a little slide boost. It was good. It helped you move around. It was good for movement. You could do outplays with it. You know, you could add it into other mechanics, like with the grapple. You could do a little slide with it. It was so good. It felt so good. There were a few broken things, like you could essentially, like with the grapple, you could essentially get to a point where you were slide hopping, but that could be patched out without removing slide boosting altogether. Why are you taking slide boosting out altogether? Oh my gosh. It, like, the one thing that made the movement feel okay in this game, you took out. Now we don't have any of the fun mechanics. The fastest you can go in this game is Sundance's glide, right? Or attack sprint. That's it. You get attack sprint. Your slide literally slows you down. Oh my gosh. It's so... There's so many design decisions that were made between the beta and the release that just took what was good from the beta and what felt really good about Battlefield and what all their positive feedback came from, and just turned it on its head and made all those things bad. The gunplay felt good. Now the gunplay feels terrible, right? The map Orbital felt good because, you know, there's this one central place where there's constantly big fights, and it was a smaller base map. It was a smaller map in terms of Battlefield 2042 maps, and it felt good to have all these crazy fights. Everybody was kind of fighting in one area, so it felt like you were getting these massive 20v12 fights or more, right? But now all the maps are way too spread out, and you know, you're getting these small scale fights, and it just doesn't feel good playing on these maps right now. And I don't know, man, just there's so many balancing decisions and like just other design decisions, like the tanks taking four rockets to kill. Oh my gosh, the Bloom is probably the most frustrating thing. The most frustrating thing for me is the performance, but in terms of design decisions, the Bloom is the most frustrating thing. Why would you add Bloom into gunplay when in Battlefield 5 we had perfect gunplay where bullets go where your crosshair is? But that's not a thing anymore. I hope these are all fixable things. I'm not going to say, you know, Battlefield is beyond repair or anything. These are all fixable. The performance can get better. Like when Battlefield 5 released, I kind of had the same issue. My computer ran Battlefield 5 like crap, but now I get over 144 frames on Battlefield 5. So the performance can be fixed, at least to an extent. You know, they can mess with the specialists, do what they need to do. They can mess with the maps if they want to. They can see what they can do. I don't know how much they can mess with the maps, but they can add more maps in, add in a bunch more good maps, like Orbital. I really like Orbital. Like, a bunch of people were saying they didn't really like Orbital, but Orbital's one of my favorite maps now, having played the full game. The thing about the maps is, each individual area is fun to fight in, but when you put them all together, it just doesn't feel good. I'm done talking. Okay, that is overall all my issues with Battlefield 2042. I'm done talking. I apparently have been talking for 13 minutes. I feel like I've barely started, but all these are definitely fixable issues that DICE or whatever company is running this now, because I think 4 companies in one, like, putting together one game is a bit too much and gets a bit too red tapey, and like, it's just, there's too much going on for it to stay true to one vision. So I don't know, but whoever's controlling it, all these issues are fixable. They just have to do it. And this is the early access, but early access just means, you know, the full release just a week early, right? It's not like a beta where we're still testing things out. It's the full release just early. So with Halo Infinite coming out and showing us how good a game can be at release, Halo Infinite's still in beta, but showing us how good a game can be at this full capacity really showed me the issues that Battlefield 2042 has. And I feel bad for Battlefield because everybody wants to play Halo now, it seems like. There still are the Battlefield people that want to play Battlefield, and I still want to play Battlefield, but it's so annoying to play Battlefield right now. But anyways, I promise I'm done talking now. I will see you guys next week for a new video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that stuff. Comment down below what you think about Battlefield 2042 and all of that good stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. It does mean a lot. I'll see you guys next week. GG's and goodbye.